My neighbor warned me at the gate, "Watch your house before you leave, someone is behind you." What I did next shocked everyone. I was standing at my gate that quiet Saturday morning, ready to step out for the market, when my neighbor Mr. Thompson rushed toward me, breathing hard. His shirt was half tucked, and his eyes were wide like he had seen a ghost. Before I could even ask what was wrong, he grabbed my arm and whispered, "Watch your house before you leave, someone is behind you." My heart jumped. I slowly turned my head, but I didn't see anyone. The street looked calm, the birds were singing, and the air smelled of fresh rain. But Mr. Thompson's hand was shaking. "I saw him," he whispered. "He was right there by your back window. Don't pretend like everything is normal. Someone is watching you." I didn't know whether to scream, run, or pretend not to care. My mind was racing. Why would anyone stand behind my house? What did they want? And why would they wait for me to come outside? I clutched the small bag of money in my hand even tighter. My late husband used to say, "Danger does not always make noise. Sometimes it stands still and waits." And for the first time, I believed him. Mr. Thompson pointed toward my backyard, and I followed his finger. At first I didn't see anything. Then, just for a second, I saw a shadow move. My breath caught in my throat. The shadow was tall, slow, and it slipped behind the water tank like it was hiding. That was when fear left my body and something else entered me. Something sharp, something angry, something tired of being afraid. So instead of running away like a normal 70-year-old grandmother, I did the one thing nobody expected. I marched straight back into my house, dropped my shopping bag, reached under my bed, and pulled out the heavy iron rod I used to chase snakes away in the old days. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From fire. From courage. From the stubbornness of a woman who had survived too much in life to let some shadow scare her. I came outside again, holding the rod behind my wrapper, pretending everything was normal. I looked at Mr. Thompson and said loudly, "Let me go and pick the tomatoes I forgot at the backyard." He blinked, confused. Then he understood. His eyes widened. "Are you sure?" he whispered. I smiled. "Very sure." I took one slow step toward the backyard. Then another. The closer I got, the more quiet everything became. Even the birds stopped singing. I could almost hear my own heartbeat. When I reached the corner of the house, I paused. I saw the shadow again. This time clearly. A man crouched low beside my window, his hand inside his bag like he was holding something. I gripped the iron rod tightly. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought he would hear it. I stepped forward and a branch snapped behind me. The man jerked his head up. And before I could shout, he sprang out from behind the window, running straight toward me with full speed. The rod slipped slightly in my hand. And that was when I realized. He was not alone. The man charged toward me so fast that for a moment, my legs forgot how to move. I stood frozen, gripping the iron rod while my heart slammed against my chest like a drum. Just when he was 2 steps away from grabbing me, another figure burst out from behind the mango tree near my fence. This one was shorter, broader, and wearing a dark hoodie. Mr. Thompson had been right. The first man was not alone. The second man shouted, "Grab her before she screams." His voice was rough and cold, the kind of voice that makes your stomach twist. For a brief second I felt the world close in around me. 2 strangers. My own backyard. No one else in sight. I felt old, weak, and terribly small. But then something inside me snapped awake. It wasn't fear anymore. It was anger. Pure, burning anger. I swung the iron rod with all the strength my 70-year-old bones could gather. It wasn't perfect, and it didn't hit the first man the way I imagined. But it scraped his shoulder hard enough for him to stumble. He hissed like a wild cat and grabbed his arm. "Crazy old woman," he shouted. That insult gave me more strength than a bowl of pounded yam. I stepped back quickly, shouting loud enough for the whole street to hear, "Thompson. Call the police." My voice echoed through the quiet morning. The second man flinched, surprised. They didn't expect me to fight back. They expected a weak woman who would cry for help. They did not expect Grandma Rose, the same woman who had chased thieves away from her farm in her early years. Mr. Thompson, who had been hiding behind the gate pillar, suddenly found his voice. "I'm calling them now," he yelled. The two men exchanged a worried glance. The short one cursed under his breath. "Leave her for now. Let's grab the bag inside and go." My stomach dropped. Bag? What bag? Then I remembered. On my dining table, in plain sight, I had left a nylon bag full of money I had saved for my granddaughter's school fees. I was planning to deposit it that morning. That was almost 100,000 naira sitting there proudly like it was not something thieves dreamed of. The men turned toward my back door, trying to make a run for it, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Not after working so hard for that money. I lifted the iron rod again and blocked the narrow path to the back door with my body. "Move," the tall one barked. Over my dead body, I answered, surprising even myself. For a moment, everything paused. The wind seemed to wait. The trees seemed to watch. The two men stared at me like they were trying to understand why an old grandmother would dare to stand in their way. I saw confusion in their eyes. Then anger. Then a kind of dangerous impatience. The short one reached into his pocket. My heart almost stopped. His hand came out holding something dark and sharp. A knife. The sight of it made my whole body tremble, but I refused to move from the door. He took 2 slow steps toward me, pointing the blade at my chest. "We don't want trouble," he growled. "Just move, Mama." I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight. For a moment, I wondered if I had been foolish. If this bravery was just madness pretending to be courage. I could feel my hands shaking, my knees weakening. I stepped back only a little, enough for the knife to scare me even more. He lifted the blade higher. I gripped the iron rod tighter. We stood there, facing each other like two fighters in a ring. Then the tall one shouted, "Hurry! Someone is coming." The short man turned his head slightly to check. I saw my chance. One tiny chance. One heartbeat of opportunity. I raised the iron rod. But before I could swing, someone grabbed the back of my wrapper from behind. A strong hand. A fast pull. And suddenly, I was dragged backward so hard I almost fell to the ground. I stumbled backward, nearly falling as the strong hand yanked me away from the knife. For a moment everything spun. The iron rod slipped from my fingers and dropped to the ground with a hard clang. My heart raced as I tried to steady myself, certain the thieves had grabbed me. But when I turned to see who had pulled me, my eyes widened in shock. It was my grandson, Daniel. He was panting, his eyes fiery with fear and anger. "Grandma," he shouted, "what are you doing? Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Before I could answer, he stepped in front of me like a shield. He was only 23, but that morning he stood like a giant. The thieves froze for a split second, shocked by his sudden appearance. The tall one hissed, "Who's this one again?" Daniel didn't wait. He picked up the iron rod I had dropped and held it firm, gripping it the way a man holds a weapon when he is ready to defend someone he loves. "If any of you touch my grandmother," he said in a low and steady voice, "you won't leave this compound the way you came." The short thief with the knife stepped forward. "Young man, don't be stupid. Move aside." Daniel didn't move. Not even an inch. I wanted to shout at him to run. I wanted to beg him not to risk his life for me. But my voice refused to come out. Fear had locked my throat. All I could do was clutch my wrapper and pray silently that this would not end in blood. The man with the knife lunged forward. Daniel dodged, swinging the rod fast. It missed the thief's head by just an inch, but it hit the knife hand, making the blade fall to the ground. The short thief screamed in pain. The tall one charged at Daniel from the side, tackling him to the ground. They rolled on the dusty cement floor, punching wildly. I screamed, "Stop! Leave him alone! Someone help! Mr." Thompson finally gathered courage and rushed inside his house to call more neighbors. But by then, the fight had already turned dangerous. The short thief picked up the fallen knife with his other hand and raised it high. Daniel was still struggling under the weight of the tall thief and didn't see the blade coming down toward his back. My heart almost stopped. Without thinking, I grabbed a small stone flower pot beside the wall and threw it at the knife-holding thief with every bit of strength inside me. The pot hit his shoulder, but not hard enough. He turned to me with fire in his eyes. "You old witch!" he shouted and started rushing toward me. I stepped back, fear crawling up my spine, but I refused to run. I stood there frozen as he took 3 heavy steps in my direction. His knife raised, his eyes wild, his anger boiling. Just then, the front gate burst open. 3 men from the street ran in, shouting and holding sticks. They had heard the noise. They had seen Mr. Thompson's frantic calls for help. The thief immediately stopped, panicked. The tall thief on top of Daniel jumped up quickly too. "Run!" the tall one shouted. They both sprinted toward the fence like frightened animals. But they didn't run fast enough. Because the moment they reached the fence, something unbelievable happened, a moment so shocking that even the thieves screamed. A figure was already climbing over the fence from the outside. And when he dropped into my compound, dust rising around him, his face turned slowly toward the 2 thieves. It was someone none of us expected to see. When the figure landed inside my compound, the ground shook slightly. Dust rose around his shoes, and for a moment we could not see his face clearly. But when he lifted his head, the 2 thieves froze like statues. It was Officer Mark, the neighborhood police officer who had been transferred months ago. A man known for his sharp eyes, quick temper, and fearless way of dealing with criminals. He had grown up on our street and treated everyone like family. No one knew he was back in town. "I didn't even know. How many times have I warned you boys?" Officer Mark said, his voice calm but dangerous. The thieves panicked. The short one tried to climb back over the fence, but Mark grabbed him by the back of his shirt and threw him to the floor like he was catching a chicken. The tall one tried to run past him, but Mark swung his leg and kicked him to the ground. By this time, more neighbors had rushed into my compound. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Harriet, Uncle Paul, even little kids stood at the gate peeking inside. Everyone watched as Officer Mark pinned both thieves to the floor with 1 knee each, breathing heavily. Daniel stood up slowly, dust on his face, scratches on his arm, but his eyes full of relief. I rushed to him, touching his cheeks, his shoulders, his hands. "Are you okay? Did they cut you? Did they hurt you? Daniel, answer me." He laughed a tired laugh. "Grandma, you're shaking more than I am." I hugged him tight, almost crying. Officer Mark stood up and signaled to the neighbors. "Tie their hands. And bring rope." Before long, the thieves were tied like goats ready for market. The whole street started buzzing with shock, questions, and anger. Who were they? How did they enter? What were they looking for? Grandma rose. "Are you all right?" I didn't know what to say. Everything felt unreal. While the neighbors talked, Officer Mark came to me. "Mama Rose, I came to greet the neighborhood. When I passed behind your fence, I heard struggling inside. I climbed over just to check. I did not know I would meet this." I nodded slowly. "Thank God you came. But something was bothering me. Something important." I pulled Daniel aside. "How did you know trouble was happening? You came just in time." Daniel hesitated. "Grandma, I wasn't at school today." "What do you mean?" "I came home early because I saw a suspicious man following you yesterday. I didn't want to worry you, so I decided to watch your house this morning from across the street." My mouth fell open. My grandson had been protecting me without my knowledge. But before I could respond, Officer Mark shouted, "Everybody stand back." The crowd moved aside. One of the thieves had started laughing, loud, strange, and mocking. "You think you've caught us?" he said. "You think this ends here?" His smile was cold. "There are more of us." Everyone gasped. He leaned forward with a wicked grin. "And what is coming next will shock this whole street." A cold wind blew through the compound. And deep inside me, I felt a new fear rise. The laughter from the thief echoed in my ears like a dark warning. The street fell silent. Even the neighbors who loved gossiping froze in fear. Officer Mark stepped closer to the tall thief and grabbed him by the collar. "What do you mean there are more of you?" Mark demanded. The thief spat on the ground. "You'll find out soon." Daniel clenched his fists. "If you people touch my grandmother again." The tall thief cut him off with a smirk. "Your grandmother was only the first house on the list." The words hit me like a stone. "List," I whispered. "What list?" Officer Mark shouted, "Speak before I break your teeth." But the thief only smiled wider. "You'll see." The short thief nodded slowly. "Your street is not safe. Anymore. Our boss is watching." A chill spread through my chest. All my neighbors stepped back, whispering to one another. Some mothers gathered their children. Some men locked their gates. For the first time in many years, our peaceful street felt like a battlefield. Officer Mark dragged the thieves toward the gate. "Get them out of my sight. I'll handle them at the station." As he and a few strong men escorted the criminals out, the rest of us gathered in my compound. The neighbors were shaken. People murmured prayers. Others asked questions. Everyone seemed afraid. Daniel stood beside me, rubbing his bruised shoulder. "Grandma, I'll sleep in your house tonight. I'm not leaving you alone." I nodded, feeling safe with him near. But deep inside, my stomach twisted. The thieves, words kept playing in my mind. There are more of us. Your street is not safe. Later that evening, after the sun set and darkness wrapped around the houses, Daniel locked every window, every bolt, every padlock. Mr. Thompson came by twice to check on me. Even Mrs. Harriet brought a pot of jollof rice, to comfort my spirit. But the street felt too quiet. Too tense. Around 11 p.m., when everything seemed calm, Daniel finally told me to get some sleep. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling, but my mind refused to rest. I kept thinking, why my house? How long had they been watching me? What did they truly want? Suddenly, a loud knock slammed against the front door. Daniel jumped up from the couch. I sat straight on the bed. The knock came again, harder, heavier. Like someone was trying to break the door. "Grandma," Daniel whispered, "stay back." He tiptoed toward the door. The knocking continued, boom, boom, boom. Then a voice shouted from outside. "Open this door, right now." Daniel froze. My heart dropped. Because I knew that voice. And hearing it at that hour of the night was the most shocking thing that had happened all day. The loud knocks continued shaking the entire house. Daniel inched closer to the door, his body tense and ready to defend us again. I felt my breath disappear as the voice outside shouted even louder. "Open this door now. It is important." Daniel slowly leaned forward and peered through the small side curtain beside the door. His eyes widened in shock. "Grandma, you are not going to believe this," he whispered. I stepped carefully to his side and looked out too. Standing outside, sweating and shaking, was Pastor Raymond, our street pastor. He looked nothing like his usual calm, gentle self. His clothes were crumpled, his hair looked like he had been running, and he kept glancing behind him like someone was following him. Daniel opened the door slightly. "Pastor, what happened?" Pastor Raymond rushed inside without waiting to be invited. He slammed the door shut behind him and locked it twice. His hands were trembling like leaves in the wind. "Pastor, what is going on?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. He took a deep breath. "Mama Rose, Daniel, something terrible is about to happen. I needed to warn you first because your house is the main target." My legs almost gave way. Daniel helped me sit down. "Target? Why my house?" I asked. The pastor paced back and forth, breathing heavily. "I have been counseling a young man for weeks. He joined a bad group, a gang that steals from homes. He came to my house tonight, shaking, saying things have gone out of control. He told me that their leader became angry when he heard his boys were arrested today. And he said." Pastor Raymond stopped and looked at me with sad eyes. "He said the boss has decided to come for your house himself tonight." A cold shock shot through my body. Daniel stepped in front of me protectively. "Grandma is not alone. I am here. And the police already caught 2 of them." Pastor Raymond shook his head slowly. "This man is not like the boys the police caught. He is dangerous. Very dangerous. And he is close. He will be here any moment." Just as those words left his mouth, the street outside went silent. Too silent. No dogs barking. No footsteps. No voices. Only a strange stillness that made the air heavy. Daniel quietly moved toward the window. "Grandma, Pastor, stay low." We crouched together near the center of the living room. The lights were still off. Only the moonlight slipping through the curtains gave the room a faint glow. Then we all heard it. A slow, heavy footstep outside the door. One step. Then another. Then a third. Pastor Raymond whispered, "That is him. That is their leader." The footsteps stopped right at the door. Silence. Then a soft, chilling voice said, "I know you are inside." Daniel grabbed the iron rod again. Pastor Raymond held my hand tightly. My heart thumped so loudly I felt he could hear it from outside. The door handle turned slowly. Once, twice, then stopped. The voice spoke again, calm and cold. Mama Rose, open the door. Let me finish what my boys could not. My blood turned to ice. Then, suddenly, a loud siren blasted down the street. Bright flashing lights filled the compound. Multiple voices shouted, "Police! Surround the area, and, do not move." Officer Mark burst into my compound with 3 patrol officers behind him. They had received Daniel's earlier call and came to check on us. The gang leader tried to run, but there was no escape. The police chased him, tackled him to the ground, and handcuffed him on the spot. Neighbors began pouring out of their houses. Some were praying, some were cheering, some were simply shocked. Officer Mark marched into my living room. "Mama Rose, you are safe now. He will not trouble you again." I let out a long breath I did not know I had been holding. Daniel hugged me tightly. Pastor Raymond sank into a chair, whispering thankful prayers. As the police dragged the gang leader away, he turned and looked at me. But this time, he did not smile. He did not threaten. He only lowered his head in defeat. And for the first time that day, I finally felt warmth return to my chest. Our street was safe. My home was safe. And I learned something powerful that night. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing strong even when fear tries to break you. Courage is protecting the people you love. And courage is knowing your community stands with you. That night, as Daniel locked the door one last time, he turned to me and smiled. "Grandma, no one is ever touching this house again." And I believed him.